Kathy, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, good.
So
I'm excited. Yep.
I'm excited. We're going to be having conversations in regards to coaching. So you've been in the business for how long now?
Coaching business about 18 years.
18 years.
Yep.
And you've been in the management and leadership business for
about 30 years.
30 years. So while you've been in the coaching industry for 18 years, as long as you're in leadership, you're also in coaching.
Right on.
Right?
I started when I was 5. So
really? Who was your first client when you were 5?
It was my nephew. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
So what I'm really most excited about in here is taking the knowledge and the wisdom that you've acquired over the last 30 plus years of management, of recruiting, of having tough conversations, of coaching, of leading and developing various brokerages, and absorbing as much as we can to run with it with Glover U.
Right.
So one of the first questions that I have is, when you think of the word coaching, right, as it relates to your world of experience, what does coaching mean to you?
So that's kind of, in my opinion, kind of I don't want to make it too in-depth, but how I define coaching, or what I've learned to define coaching, is there's multiple steps to actually working with people to coach. Is it okay if I share that?
Absolutely.
Okay, sweet. So what I look at as coaching is, when you're working with a person, and because you're an awesome coach, is that you look at the individual for who they are and what their goal is first.
Sure.
Right? So we want to look at what their goal is, and everyone's goal is a little bit different. And then once they think of their goal, we have to work with them on discovering their motivation.
Okay.
So what motivates them? What is their why, right? Which we talk about all the time. Which sounds like a cliche, but it's difficult to really get to a goal until they really know what motivates them.
Right.
And so we have to dig deep and understand that there's something more that they're wanting,
right,
in their lives to live, as Jeff would say, an unreal life.
Sure.
And so from a coaching perspective, we have to identify their goal, and then their motivation to reach the goal. And you know as well as I do how much that takes effort sometimes.
Right. So when I think about goal and motivation, a lot of times the analogy I use is the goal is the vehicle and the motivation is the gasoline in the vehicle.
Right on.
Right. And so what would you say, either to a coach or a client, what would you say if you're having a hard time identifying somebody's motivation or helping them identify their own motivation?
So that's a common thing. You and I deal with it every single day. And so obviously, as a coach, one of the greatest things that we have to learn to be good at is asking questions. So it's the ability of us to be able to probe deep to help the agent or leader, right? Agent, broker, owner, manager, team leader, to discover what's important to them.
Sure.
So it is a series, as far as I can see, and learned, is that you keep peeling the onion,
right,
by asking questions. So what's important to you? Tell me about that. You ask them about their family. You ask them about where they want to go, places they want to see, things they want to do. And you have to dig deep to really discover the motivation.
Sure.
And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I think it's a really super important conversation.
Let's pretend we've discovered the motivation of a client, right?
Yep.
And so we've discovered their goal. We've discovered their motivation. What's next? What is the role of a coach next?
Okay, good. Great question. So as we talk about what is coaching, the role of a coach at that moment is to work with them to do their business plan.
Okay.
And their business plan is you've got to look at the numbers, right? And so the business plan, you and I say it all the time, we can't live our unreal life unless we have income supporting our unreal life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things, the less popular thing that we talk about when we talk about the Unreal Formula, because of course, when we present the Unreal Formula, it's very exciting. It's this dream life, right?
Yeah.
It's this pie in the sky. Okay, we cannot wait to get there, right?
Yeah, right.
And yet, working on your unreal life is a privilege we get to do once we can put food on the table,
Exactly.
right? We don't even get to talk about our goals and the impact we need to make in our life and the impact in the lives of others until we fully have mastered ourselves and taken control of the goals that we set.
Absolutely. And you and I talk about that a lot, and it makes complete sense. So we identify their goal, their motivation to reach it, then do the business plan, which is the numbers, right? What income do you want to earn? Why? What's important to you? And then we talk about their growth plan. And so the business plan, within the business plan, the Glover U business plan, we have a growth plan, which is the action items people need to take to move forward. And so that's the third step really when you're, what is coaching or what does a coach do? And then the next thing that this is how I have to think of things, right? Is we have to identify and work with them on 4 things.
Okay.
And there's more than that, but this is how I summarize it. And you may be a little bit different how to you phrase it, but so I call it the 4 S's. Okay. The first is their source of business. Where are they getting their business? And the source of business, as you know, because you educate us on it all the time, we have to look at where they're getting their business from. Mm-hmm. And that's something that is super important, as you know. And then after the source of business, one thing that I've seen in all the years that I've been blessed to do this is people don't realize that they have to have systems, income generating systems, as Jeff would say, to work their sources. So you have the source of business and then the system, income generating systems we're referring to. So for example, and again, you and I talk about it all the time, is they need to work on their database. So their past client and SOI database. And we know the system is 4 mailings, 4 times they call, 2 events, and then 12 infotaining emails. And so what I've learned is even the best producers, right? They do so well because they have such a great personality and they're smart.
Sure, right.
Which is huge.
Right.
But
it's almost accidental, right? They don't have
in some ways, yeah.
Right,
right on, because they have a great personality,
right,
which is actually...
It's a blessing and a curse. I mean, it's right.
Yeah.
It makes getting business easy, and yet it makes tracking business and duplicating business very hard.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, that's the key, is the duplication. Yeah.
So there's a couple things you said here that I would love some clarity on for my own personal clarity.
Yeah.
And so we hear the word systems all the time. Like, in fact, it's like a buzzword, right? People come to us, they want systems. And to me, and this is where I want you to tell me, first of all, how do you define a system?
So it's a great question. And so the definition, I don't really know, but it's a process.
Okay.
And so what it is, it's so basic.
Like a clearly defined, documented process on how you do something.
Exactly. So again, the perfect example is, okay, I'm going to choose my source, or I'm already in the business, right? And, for our clients, we want to find out, what are you doing? Where are you getting your business? So I'm going to get it from past clients' sphere of influence. I'm working expireds. I'm buying leads, whatever.
Sure.
So the system is the process to work that source. And the most basic fundamental one, which I see is a lot of people don't do, and you see this too, and I'm laughing because I understand it, is they won't mail 4 times a year.
Sure.
They're uncomfortable calling 4 times a year.
Right.
And having a verbal conversation, which is another S, even though it doesn't start with V. I'll get there in a minute.
Right.
But so if they just would say, okay, I'm just going to mail 4 times a year. I'm going to call people 4 times a year. I'm going to have 1 or 2 events. And then I'm going to do 12, emails, 1 a month.
Right.
If they followed that system, every single real estate agent, that simple system, they would not have an income problem.
What do you think stops them from following that? What gets in the way of them following that super simple black and white plan?
Well, with the phone calls, we know it's fear,
sure,
discomfort, because
rejection, all that.
And nothing against Comcast salespeople, but they think like you're out pounding people.
Yeah.
When really the call is nothing more than providing value and asking their clients about them.
Correct.
Right? And how they are, and providing value and connecting. We're human beings.
Right.
And they need a touch of verbal communication, because I think Ed Milet said it, is that people want happiness.
Sure.
And how you get happiness is by feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you reach out and talk to people, that's what happens. So that's one reason, is that discomfort. They feel like they're doing something harmful when they're not. They're just providing value and connecting with someone that they know.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is that people have challenge with organization. I mean, we know that. And it can be personality driven, which is okay. And so it's a matter of just that structure. So our job as a coach is to keep sifting through the people that struggle with it till we finally find that the way to help them see that if they start baby stepping doing a little system, and it's a very simple system, would you agree?
Yeah. Yes.
You know that.
Right. Sure.
That all of a sudden it dawns on them, which is like a big win.
Right.
Which is why coaching takes time. And we'll talk about that. You and I've talked about that a lot too. It's a process. So you go, you work with them on their sources, doubling down on the ones that they're great at, discovering other ones that they can improve at, and then you work obviously with them on getting the systems or the processes, and then obviously the one that
wait. So really quick, is systems another S?
That's the second S.
So that's the second S. So right now we've got the first S, source of business. Second one is systems.
Yes.
Okay.
The third.
Yes.
You get to guess.
I have no idea.
Schedule.
I was going to say accountability doesn't start with an S.
No,
but
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scheduling. Okay.
Yeah. So accountability comes up at the last, one of the last things.
Okay.
And
Okay. So schedule.
Yeah. Schedule.
Okay.
Right. So schedule. So you know as well as I do.
Yeah.
How easy is it to get people that get into real estate? I'm an independent contractor.
Right.
I don't want to schedule anymore. So
right.
it's a challenge too, but it's also something that once they get it, they're like, freedom.
Well, and so I know that we've been talking about this a lot with coaches, but when we talk about scheduling and when we talk about rejection, this all falls under the umbrella of framing. Right?
Right.
So how, like, for instance, for scheduling, how are we framing why, a schedule is important? For some, the framework could be, I'm a slave to a schedule. I want freedom and flexibility. I feel like I'm back in a corporate 9-to-5.
Yep.
Whereas others who have mastered the schedule and have seen it work for them and have seen it work for their business, they understand that following a schedule is an asset that launches them forward.
No doubt about it.
Right? And so if a client is struggling with a schedule, one of the first questions I would ask is, what's your belief about a schedule as it relates to your success?
That's an awesome question.
And so how do we help a client reframe that is certainly another conversation for another day. But
I love that. And that's exactly right. And again, it's about us asking questions that the key is self-discovering. So the schedule, we could spend 3 days sitting here working with people on schedules. So we won't do that.
Absolutely.
The next S is their skills.
Okay. Skills.
I am growing up, right, with all the fundamentals. I'm a huge fundamental person. Because I believe that I don't believe, I know, because I've seen it 1,000 times, the fundamentals work. Jeff's a good example of that, right? And so the skill base, I always say when it comes to coaching, right? And this is a big answer, and I really didn't mean it to be this big, but I think it's our responsibility to work with them on their skills. And I think one of the most top skill, I'm just going to say it, is what comes out of your mouth. And people get afraid of the word script when it's nothing more than just teaching people how to ask good questions.
Yeah.
Because,
so you know the line, right? We're all following a script no matter what.
Right.
Is it working? Yes or no?
Yeah,
right. And so there might be a client who's thinking, well, gosh, I love my listing presentation. I could never follow a script. And the reality is, do you show up to your listing appointment with the same, folder each time and with the same lack of script? Because lack of script is a script.
Right on.
And so we have to ask ourselves, how is this working as it relates to your conversion rate, as it relates to, the goals that you have? And so we can talk about the hard skills of scripting, but the reality is we're all following a script. We're all following a plan. It's just, does it work for our goals? Yes or no?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's the question. Does it work? Is it working? Well, sometimes it does, but that's a deeper conversation. But the skill, I always say to people, you can't fulfill a need without asking a question. And all scripts are questions to find the needs of the people we're trying to help.
Correct.
And if we don't use them, I jokingly say, and you've heard this, is that, okay, so are you, otherwise we verbally vomit all over them.
Right.
And then we start talking.
Right.
We start talking at people. And when you talk at people, they go like this. So skills is super important, everything that we said. And then I'll say that the last two that I wrote down is, the job of a coach, or what is coaching, is our job is encourage, and you've heard this in my mentor, taught me this, encourage. So the role of a coach needs to encourage people. And that's a big piece of it. And then the last thing I wrote down is obviously hold them accountable to the things that they say they're going to do. And, you know, that is one of the most important things. And that's really what people, I think, want when they get into a coaching. Now, they might say they don't, but they really do, because when you reach out for accountability, that means you want to grow.
Absolutely.
And everything on the other side of that discomfort is where the growth comes.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think I kind of made it a little longer, but that's how I would really summarize what a coach's job is, or what is coaching, and what it looks like.
So just to summarize, because of course I'm taking notes, I'm learning just as much as everybody else out there, right? So the job of a coach here is to, number one, help identify and set the goals for the clients. Number two, to identify their intrinsic motivation. What is the gas to the car that's going to move them forward towards this goal, number one. And then number three, what's the business plan, right? Where does the business need to fall in line for their goal, for their motivation? And then number four, which we could talk forever on, but it's the growth plan, right? What are the personal action steps that they need to do in order to fulfill their business plan? For instance, if their business plan is full of expireds and FSBOs, what does their growth plan need to look like in order to lean into that? And then, of course, Kathy shared the 4 S's with us, which is S, number one is sourcing business. The second S is systems, right? What is the clearly defined, documented process on how to do something and get the most out of it? Number 3 is scheduling. What does the schedule need to look like in order to fulfill the business plan so that we can hit the goals? And then the 4th S, of course, is skills. What skills do we need in order to execute on the business plan in order to hit the goal? Did I miss anything?
Nope, just the end of the encouragement and the accountability.
And the encouragement. So
and accountability.
If you can tell, there's an area that I probably need to implement with my clients. It's more encouragement, of course.
Well, also the accountability, which you're really good at. And the other thing I'll just say is that, you know, to become a coach is, what I've seen is like you, and very blessed to be working with you. And I know you know that. And but, you know, we have a deep passion for the success of the people we work with. And,
absolutely.
And it's why we do it. Otherwise we go crazy. But so
right.
It is that desire to help. So I don't know, we just were talking that I think it just kind of helps everybody, our clients, see how we see what coaching is, and
absolutely.
And hopefully, you know, it helps them just to clarify a few things. So Kate, you and I have also spent a lot of time. I feel like I've known you forever, right?
Right.
Which is true, because I think we're kindred spirits in many ways.
Right.
But one of the things I was thinking about as we were starting this conversation is, you know, what for the client, right? What is the best ways for them to get the most out of coaching? So what would you say is your top 5, 6, 7 ways for the client to get the most out of coaching?
So it's a great question, and it's something that we do need to spend a lot of time on, because we have to recognize that in a coach-client relationship, we, as much as we would love to be sitting next to them at their desk all week, we can't be, right? And maybe some you want to, and maybe some your 30 minutes is more than enough, right? You never know.
Totally.
That being said, we have a work week of 168 hours. 30 minutes is what we have to make an impact in somebody's world, right? And so now we're talking about how do we best use those 30 minutes to change the trajectory of your business. Now, here's the cool thing, because as I say that out loud, it might seem like, well, gosh, is 30 minutes really enough to make an impact? And the answer, of course, is yes. It's how do you use those 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So over the last, 6 or 7 years of coaching full time, I can share with you the 5 keys that the top coaching clients are doing to get the most out of coaching. So
awesome.
I'll start with that now.
Yeah, I think
so. Number one, and this might sound low level, this might sound like a no-brainer, but it has to be said. When you're doing your coaching call, when you're plugging into your coaching conversation, it has to be a distraction-free environment. You're writing notes in front of you. You're not checking your email. You're not checking your phone.
Totally.
You're not driving. In fact, we sort of have this internal rule as coaches that if a client's driving, and of course this depends on your relationship with the client, you have permission to end the call. And you have permission to end the call because we need to deliver high value in 30 minutes. And can we do that if somebody's, in the drive-through line at McDonald's, reaching for French fries? Maybe, maybe not, right? So it's our job to teach you, how do we get the most value out of this? And this means a distraction-free environment. Your social media is down, your phone's turned over, you are plugged into that coaching call.
Right.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two, and this again should be a no-brainer, and yet we'll share with it, ask questions, right? So one of the things that all of our coaches do before coaching calls is they review the notes on the clients, and they're encouraged to come up with 3 powerful questions that they need to ask the client in order to move their business forward. That being said, we expect that the client is coming to the call with 3 powerful questions that they would like answers to, that they believe is going to help move their business forward, right? So this is a shared dynamic of asking powerful questions so that we can help the client in the best way possible.
Can I just throw out a thought on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of the things that I found that's so important is when a client does bring questions to the call, and we've been taught this, right, is it helps them think. So it helps you think, right? And helps you self-discover yourself where you need to improve, or a lot of it is strategy driven. Like, listen, I have a listing, it's been on the market, it hasn't sold, so share with me 3 tips on what I can do to get a price reduction. So you take the time to think about it. Our clients, you guys just get better and stronger with becoming better thinkers and critical thinkers.
That's actually, that's a really good point. You know, teaching them to identify what are the problems in their business.
Right.
Because there are times when of course we know in coaching where they might not even see a problem and we see it as a problem, right? And so teaching them to bring questions is going to allow them to critically think, to, you know, observe their business and see what might need to change there.
Yep.
The third one, do your homework. Now, here's the irony, okay? Even the best coaching clients, are they doing their homework 100% of the time? Of course not, right? It's human nature. It's called life. Things get in the way. That being said, are they doing their homework 80 to 85% of the time? Yes, they are, right? And if they're not, the coach is asking them why, and they're problem solving, and they're going back to it the next week. And so one of the recommendations we have with coaching clients is you block out your 30-minute call every week, but I also recommend that they block out 2 to 3 hours later in the week to go back, review their notes, and implement any homework assignments. Now, some weeks you might not need 3 hours, you might need 30 minutes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But there needs to be time in your week where you can go back and actually take advantage of all of the information that you're getting in those 30 minutes. So you have your coaching call, you know, on Monday or Tuesday, and you have your coaching development time somewhere on a Thursday or Friday, or whenever it makes sense for you to go back and implement. So I say do your homework, but number 3 really is implementation time. What does the time look like in your schedule to actually implement what the coach is asking you to do, right? Otherwise, we risk, you know, you hang up the phone, you're walking into a showing, and you don't even think about the coaching call until the next call you have.
Right on.
Right? Now, can you get value in 30 minutes? Sure, but we're talking about how to get the most value in coaching, not how to get the least, right?
Yes.
So to get the most value, showing up and having implementation time during the week on that coaching lesson is going to be key.
That makes sense. And of course, I have to throw in a tip here that you and I have talked about.
Yeah.
So also for everyone listening, the best thing you can do is at the end of the call, right, recap the homework. So I'll say, okay, tell me what your homework is. Or I have a lot of clients that actually type it out and email it. So then we work together and we know what's expected.
So I love that we work together and know what's expected. And when we have a client who sends us their homework back, hey, Kate, I understand I need to hit 20 contacts today, 2 appointments set, and refine my listing presentation. It allows me a chance to see any blind spots. Oh, hey, don't forget, we also talked about this mailer. Or, oh, hey, don't forget, we talked about adding in pre-qual, right? Because in 30 minutes, you know, I could feel as though I'm super clear on what I'd like a client to take home, and they might take something else home, right? And so there's a comprehension there to make sure that we're on the same page on what we're working on, why we're working on it. So that was number 3, do your homework, have your implementation time. Number 4, part of implementation time is go back and listen to the call. Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite movie?
Oh my God, I have so many favorite movies.
What's the one you're thinking of right now?
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society. Okay, how many times have you watched Dead Poet Society?
Probably 7.
7?
8, yeah.
Only 7 or 8 times and it's your favorite movie?
Yes.
Okay, now, maybe at this point, you know everything there is to know about Dead Poet Society, but when you watched it the first time, second time, and third time...
Let's go with The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music.
Like
I mean, that's like a 4-hour movie, right? So let me ask you this question. How many times when you're watching The Sound of Music do you either hear something or see something for the first time?
Oh my God. Constantly.
Even though you've
I've
seen
seen
it
right on.
400 times.
Right, yes.
Right? And part of that is because it's first of all, our attention span as human beings, it waxes and wanes. It's normal. It's called life, right? But also, it's how we're showing up in that moment with what we're focused on.
Yes.
Right? And so in another topic, we'll talk about the value of coming back to events, even if you think it's the same information, which it's not, and why that's so important to you. So number 4 here on how to get the most out of coaching is go back and listen to your call. Because while you think you got everything the first time around, I can promise you there's something in there that you may have heard differently or better or more clear the second, third, or fourth time you've heard it. Right. In fact, so one of the not homework, but summer school projects I give clients if I'm on vacation or if they're on vacation is, hey, go back and pick 3 coaching calls to re-listen to and share with me what you'd like to implement that we haven't done yet. And oftentimes they'll come back to me and say, hey, I thought about this, a different way now.
Yep.
So last thing on how to get the most out of coaching, and this is going to be, this is a layered topic, but have a clear goal and stop changing the goal. Right? So in order to get the most out of coaching, we have to remember that a coach is a tool to help get you towards your goal, right? And so in order to know how to use that tool, you have to know what you're building, right? So let's pretend that we're building, a playhouse in the backyard, right? And, you think you need a hammer and you think you need a saw and you think you need a screwdriver. But then halfway through you decide, you know what? I don't want to build a playhouse. I want to build an in-ground pool. Okay, well, what good is a hammer and a screwdriver going to do? You need a shovel, right? And so the challenge with this is you might be making progress week after week and you dug a little hole here and you have one piece of plywood up for the playhouse, but over the course of 1, 3, 5, 6, 12 months, you have a ton of projects that are started, but nothing's actually complete. And so in order to get the most out of your coaching relationship, we've got to be crystal clear on what the goal is, what we're building, and how that coach is ultimately going to be best utilized to help towards that plan. Okay? So that's what I have on the 5 ways to get the most out of coaching.
Excellent.
Anything you'd like to add?
Nope. We've done it.
Okay,
Great
great.
job.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right.
So let's talk about coaching as a lifelong commitment, as a long-term partnership. So you've had a lot of experience in leadership and in coaching. So here's a question. What is the longest coaching client? What is the longest duration you've had one single client?
So I'm going to say 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, maybe 8 to 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about that relationship. How has it changed and evolved, and how did you guys, for lack of a better term, keep it fresh for 10 years in that coaching relationship?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. And, sometimes with coaching in the long term, you can change coaches, but you're committed to coaching.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
So sometimes that's healthy depending on what's going on. I think that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. So in the regard of with coaching is not training, right? So training is a shorter term thing. Coaching is, taking the time to work with an individual to implement the training or implement, as we just talked about, the systems. But the long term, I always look at it from a sports analogy because I'm a sports person, right?
Sure.
And I've done it all my life and I love watching it. And so it doesn't make a difference which sport you're looking at. But a professional golfer, if they want to improve what they're doing for the long term, they need a coach to work with them on their skills, on their system in order to do it. And that doesn't happen overnight. And I think sometimes people get confused that, I'm getting into coaching for 6 months or a year and, that's it, I'm done. We're really, in order for a coach to really gel with a client, it can take a year, 18 months, 2 years. But it's a growth thing. So you're always growing. And the client that I'm thinking of that has been with me so long, he feels like I feel, because I've been coached my whole life, that I want to work with someone to continue to nurture me, to grow me, to improve my skills, even when I'm at the top of my game. So why do the best athletes, okay? We'll use Tiger Woods. I know he's overused a lot, but let's listen. Why does he have a coach for a long time? He's already winning. He's already the wealthiest golfer in the history. What do I need a coach for? I know what I'm doing. And you forget that the coach is there to guide them, to move them forward, no matter what level they're at.
Yep.
So bringing it back to real estate, we've had a lot of coaches or a lot of clients that are doing, you know that 150, 200 deals, and they're here, and even if they want to stay there, or go to the next level, they're like, well, I can't go to the next level without someone there to coach me,
right,
to work with
right.
me, because I am just a human being that is going to probably without a coach. Oh, let me do it this way. They say, I'm getting out of coaching. I'm going to get out of coaching. Okay, tell me why. Well, because I met my, I did this and I reached my goal, or, I'm just there. And every single time someone leaves, their business goes like this. And our clients that are listening that have done that would all go like this. So it's a long-term relationship, because if you want to go to another level or maintain what you have, for example, because we go in down markets, you have to look at it that you're constantly growing.
Sure. Can I want to use an example that I'm thinking of right now. Of course, you remember, I'm sure she's a good time friend, is Karen Bernardi.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so Karen Bernardi, she's a massively successful agent out in Colorado. Yep. Right. And she's
phenomenal.
Gosh, I mean, she's probably been in the business 30 plus years.
One of the best I've ever met.
Correct. Right. And so you're looking at somebody where, as far as a coaching relationship goes, what else is there to know about taking listings? Right. And so what I remember is what she started working on with her coach is not doing more, but doing the same in less amount of time, doing the same more efficiently. And so this journey of coaching is not necessarily how do we do more, how do we do more, how do we make more money? Right. It's how do we do what we're doing and fit it in the context of a life that's worth living and a life that feels balanced, right? I wrote down something else. What I heard you say, the difference between coaching and training is an exchange of information. I'm signing up for Listing Mastery so that I can become a master at listings. Right. And at the end of Listing Mastery, I am now a master at listings. Whereas when you sign up for coaching, what you're really committed to is personal growth, self-growth, right? Yes. Now, it's in the context of the business. Yes. Right? Although anybody who's touched on the surface of personal growth, self-growth, which of course we all have if we're here right now, we know that that is a lifelong journey. Sure, we might struggle for 5 years on time management, but once we master that, there's something else.
You want to master.
Correct. Yes. Right? And so when I think of one-on-one coaching, it's coaching within, which is a forever process, whereas training is, okay, today I'm going to learn how to be a good listing agent, and tomorrow I'm going to learn how to be a good buyer's agent. Yep. Fair enough? Yep. The other thing I wrote down, and this is something that I've experienced in my own personal coaching. And so, yes, I coach agents, and I'm a huge advocate of being coached. Right. And so, while I don't have a whole lot of coordination with sports and scoreboards and referees, I do more of like the personal sports, which I've done competitive bodybuilding and fitness, to whatever degree.
Same thing.
So, what was fascinating to me working with my coach, and she's a professional bodybuilder, right? And so, at first our relationship was, okay, what's the workout program? Let's dial in the diet. Let's dial in the workout. And at some point or another, when you're as ripped as you want to be and you have as much of a six pack as you want to be, I'm not anymore, right? Okay. 2 babies later, it's fine.
You look like to me.
What you now start working on is, rather than coaching to strength, you're coaching to find the deficits.
Right.
Right? And so what we discovered together was, hey, Kate, what would actually make a difference is drinking more water. Hey, Kate, what would actually make a difference is sleeping more. It's not about doing more in the gym necessarily. It's about what else is occurring in your environment that can help you show up better. And so at a certain level, coaching shifts from, how do I empower and become the strongest version of myself, to, okay, I'm the strongest version of myself. What are the deficits that are still holding me back?
And that also depends on where you are in your life. And as we say a lot, what season of your life. So you can spend your life, growing, getting to that level, but all of a sudden, because of where I am in my life, I need to become more efficient. I need to become better because I want to do different things with my life.
Absolutely.
And so it's like we're navigating and working with the people during their growth in their life.
Well, absolutely. And here's what I'll share, and then I want to hear from you again on the lifelong commitment of coaching. It's the skill of time management when I'm single without 2 kids is a total different skill than when you're married with 2 young children and with more things on your plate. And so as your life continues to evolve, the skills that we help you develop should evolve with it, right? Which is why coaching should and could be a lifelong commitment.
And I think you said it all. I think we've said it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
I don't.
Who's your next longest client? Who's next on the 10-year journey?
I think I have someone that's going to be, the next, how long I've coached them. Yeah, like 6 or 7 years. But again, it's, you get to the point now, I'm not going to say anymore, but I've seen all these top producers that I've been so blessed to work with, is that they wouldn't even consider getting out.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
They've reached their peak, or what they mean by that is like they've reached their income goal, but and then they say, well, I'm just good right now. And then they're like, no, wait a minute, I want to do more. But again, it could be the efficiency. But they would never consider not doing it because of the fact that it's caused they're doing, we have the easy work.
Yep.
You and I talk about that. They have the hard work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's how they grow.
Sure.
And I think that's enough said.